Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Sorry, I'm in a car right now because I ended up in transit, but
So,
it's okay, I'm making it work.
how are you doing?
I'm okay. I'm doing well. Dealing with everything pretty well, I guess. Just trying to stay as busy as I possibly can during this time. But it looks like slowly things are starting to open up here and there, and some
Yeah.
people are able to get back in the studios.
Even here in New York, I mean, we're slowly getting there. We're in phase two now, so hopefully
Yeah,
it continues in a good progression. My
thank
first
you.
question is about challenges that a lot of dancers face throughout their journey to their professional career. So, very often, as you know, just from the pre professional track, there's a lot of
Yeah,
challenges, especially surrounding food and body aesthetics. So, what I would love
yeah.
to hear from you is if you could pinpoint any challenge or challenges that you experienced and just how you overcame them throughout your training.
Right. I mean, well, when I was in school, the main challenge that I had was it was the training because it was just so much training. And when I started training seriously, because I wanted to become a professional dancer and I wanted to become a great dancer and dance with American Ballet Theater, it required a lot more training and a lot more hours
Hmm.
of the day. And it sort of started around age 14, 15, and that is when I started homeschooling just because my schedule became so hard and I had to start ballet class and rehearsals already at 11 a.m. and they would run all the way to the evening. So it was a lot of work and it was hard to go to school and do that at the same time. So that was definitely really challenging for me. But also, as you say, eating well and making sure your body is healthy and taking really good care of it while you're training so hard is also so important. And it really requires a lot of attention, doing the right recovery methods. It's those are all such important things.
Aside from just needing to have that education about what's going to help with recovery and what's going to fuel you, there's such a
Hmm.
time factor when it comes to being a pre-professional trainee. I think a lot of
Yeah,
dancers are juggling their academics with these very tight dance schedules, and even
yeah.
obviously that are homeschooling like you did, it can get very difficult to juggle just all of the demands with dance physically.
Absolutely. And it can be overwhelming,
Yeah,
especially for like a young teen. It can get very overwhelming.
yeah, especially even balancing other things like having a social life and family. So there's even a lot more than just dancing and academics, but obviously those are
Yeah,
very big ones that young dancers have to balance. Uh,
right.
was there ever a specific time when you were training that you kind of made this connection where what you were putting on your plate was going to have some type of impact on your performance, whether it's on stage or in the studio?
Hmm. Well, it to me that happened when I joined ABT Studio Company, which is the little pre-professional group before they take you into the main company.
Sure.
But as as a student, as I was training in school, my mom always did so much research and she
Hmm.
always tried to find the best foods that would help me have energy and help my muscles to recover. So she already sort of started doing that for me as a child, but when it really hit me was when I had my very first injury, and it was in studio company. And I had a high ankle sprain, and I've never had an injury before, and I was out for about 3 months.
Oh, wow.
And after that, that sort of hit me really hard. And after that, I sort of made it a point to make sure that I took really good care of my body so that I would never have an injury again. And
Hmm.
luckily, I still haven't. But I became so aware of what kind of foods I was eating to help my body stay strong and healthy and have a lot of energy. What kind of recovery I should be doing after each rehearsal day, after performances, and you know, um, the amount of rest time that my body might need, and all those things. They became so important for me.
I think a lot of younger dancers will think of dance, nutrition, or food and just correlate it to their weight or how their body looks. But the truth
Yeah,
is that food plays such an important role in the success of your career. I mean, when it
right.
comes to reducing your risk of injury, or if you unfortunately have had an injury, which I know a lot of younger dancers have dealt with, even if it's something just like a stress fracture, I mean, that
Yeah,
that means you're sitting out. You're sitting out a petit allegro. You're not able to really work on those combinations and that choreographer. You might have to sit out from a performance. So I think
Absolutely.
it's so important to really make that connection.
Yeah, totally. I agree with that 100%.
Mm-hmm. Now, there's no doubt that for dancers, there's a ton of pressure that we might feel when it comes to maintaining a certain body type in dance.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so
Yes.
curious what you've encountered through your training, whether that's your pre-professional life or your professional life, when it comes to body aesthetics and how you've been able to maintain a positive relationship with your body in order to find success, at your level as a dancer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even to this day, I mean, when you're in rehearsal, you're just staring at yourself all day in the mirror, right? It's hard to not judge what you look like on an everyday basis because you have a giant mirror in front of you just all day long.
Yeah.
So, like, even to this day, I still, like, probably am judging my lines, judging how I look, how I dance. It's hard to stop it completely, but of course, there's a healthy way to do it. And, you know, I was lucky that I had really great coaches and really great support from my mom. And, they would help me with like the foods to eat to make sure that I wasn't starving myself, that I had a lot of energy. So I never deprived myself of anything. I never felt like I was like, I'm never going to eat this. And I would always allow myself to enjoy what I really wanted to enjoy.
Yeah. So yeah, that's so important. That's something that I talk about a lot because like when we do fall into that restrictive pattern, which it's so common for younger dancers, they think that they can't eat certain foods, whether it's dessert, whether it's bread. And it really can impact a dancer mentally, which can then just really hurt their performance down the road because you just fall into these restrictive patterns. But it sounds like that's such a good support system, which is so beneficial for a young dancer. And that's why sometimes I hate parents and teachers and coaches and even directors just about having a balanced environment, in the studio to promote balanced habits. I think it's really easy, like I said before, for a dancer to just fall into a mindset where food has to correlate to body weight. But the truth is that your choices on your plate are playing so much more of a role than just how you look in the mirror. Dancers are in front of mirrors all day, every day.
Yeah.
There is no doubt that we have those thoughts come into our head about, judging our own bodies and comparing ourselves to others. And I think it's really important to realize that even though those thoughts might not disappear, they might not dissipate completely, it's important to not let those thoughts impact you to the point where you are either restricting what you eat or trying to just attain unrealistic goals. So it's important to really take that information with a grain of salt that your head is translating, whether it's like comparing yourself to others or judging your own body, taking that information with a grain of salt and focusing more on your actual technique in the classroom and on your abilities.
Yeah. And also, like, I mean, you should think about yourself first and instead of thinking about like, what other people look like, what other people are doing, you should do what benefits you well and your body well. And, if you start restricting a bunch of foods because you want to look a certain way, it might be very unhealthy, it might not be good for your own body. And then you'll either end up getting injured or sitting out and you won't be able to train as hard as you want.
Right.
So in order to train hard and to work well, you have to eat properly.
Exactly. Definitely.
So.
Now, I would love for you to walk us through a sample day of how you eat and how you balance that with classes and rehearsals.
Okay. Well, I'll start. So a typical rehearsal day at ABT, it can get really tough because there are days where I might have just 7 straight hours of rehearsal and I won't have time to like run out and grab food or do stuff like that. And those days are a bit difficult, but they change. All our days are different. But usually when I'm in rehearsal at the studios, I like to have different sorts of snacks because I can't eat like a full lunch in one sitting. Otherwise, it's so hard to dance and you end up feeling groggy and tired. And I always hate feeling that way. But usually throughout the rehearsal day, I love snacking on like hard-boiled eggs with avocado. I love string cheese, lots of fruits. I love clementines. I'll eat like
Hmm.
a bunch of clementines throughout the day. Apples, bananas are a must for me
Hmm.
because they really help with the muscle cramps.
Yeah, of
And
course, the potassium in there.
yeah, and when I actually stop eating bananas, I get muscle cramps, and
Of
then
course.
I start eating them
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
But I'll snack on all different sorts of snacks throughout the day. In the morning, it depends how hard my rehearsal day is. Sometimes I'll have like a yogurt parfait or like a pastry or a muffin, or some days I'll have like an egg sandwich.
Hmm.
But it changes here and there. And in the evening, I have like a pretty good healthy dinner with like lots of vegetables and like a protein, fish, meat, and a grain of some sort. So.
Yeah, so it sounds like you definitely focus on getting in what I like to call those three macronutrients, whether it's your
Yes.
your proteins like your eggs, your string cheese, getting in your carbohydrates. It sounds like a lot of fruit, and fruit is so beneficial for a dancer, especially like you said,
Yeah.
if you're going throughout those rehearsals, you kind of need that quick energy, and it's a little bit.
Yeah.
It could be like intermittent energy between like
Yes.
and then standing and then dancing and then standing. So fruit is very beneficial for that.
Yeah. I also like if I have time to run out, I love to get smoothies, like a really good smoothie
Yeah.
um before rehearsals. That also really helps to keep my energy up and
Mhm.
helping me feeling like pretty well.
Yeah, and it sounds very practical because snacking is something that is super practical for a dancer.
Hmm.
I feel like those long rehearsal days, those 7 hour rehearsal days, are something that's pretty common, especially when you're in your
Yeah.
performance season, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so relying on those bigger meals is going to be pretty unrealistic
Absolutely. Yeah.
throughout the
I
week.
usually I save my big meal usually for dinner time because in the morning I don't eat a lot. I don't eat anything heavy. I mean, sometimes I will eat like an egg sandwich or an omelet and stuff like that, but not all the time. But I snack throughout the day, and then at night I make sure I have a really good, healthy meal with like everything in there. So that is sort of what I do.
Sure, sure. Now, when you are in your performance season, something like the Met, do you have any pre-performance go-to things that you like to eat?
Either get like some sort of salmon with like I don't know. I love avocados. So I always eat avocados with like sweet potatoes, something like that.
Sweet
Is really good.
versus the carb.
Or like a some sort of a sandwich with like chicken and like veggies, something like that. I'll eat before a show.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. Again, like thinking about that balance. I love that you said sweet
Hmm.
potatoes because sweet potatoes are
Hmm.
such a great source of complex carbs that will
Yeah,
that it'll give you energy to last you through the show. It's like it's more sustaining than just fruit.
they're
Um,
like one of my favorite things to eat too. I love
yeah.
sweet potatoes. So yeah.
How about like mid performance? If you have a longer performance, something that's more intense, maybe something like Swan Lake, for example. Do you ever
Yeah.
find you have to eat something, whether it be midway, whether it be between acts? How do you usually feel during those types of shows?
I usually during a performance I can't really eat just because it's like there's a lot of stress and
Mm-hmm. Sure.
energy. But I
Sure.
mean I always have my coconut water that I'll drink throughout
Mm-hmm.
and a coffee as well. And we have these like squincher packs which are sort of like an electrolyte replenisher
Mm-hmm.
that you mix with water. I would drink them throughout the show like to get
Mm-hmm.
as much uh, hydration as possible because I'm sweating so much.
Right.
And sometimes I'll have some chocolates, like some chocolates here and there in between to just like help me through the show.
Some dancers feel that they just like need that energy pick me up, whether it's like a banana or a piece of fruit. I've
Uh-huh.
heard chocolate. I've heard chocolate from a lot of dancers actually. Chocolate has like a certain amount of sugar. It also has a little bit of caffeine in it that helps
Hmm.
just kind of get you
It
through.
gives you like a little boost. I don't
Yeah.
know. You just feel good after it and you get this little boost of energy.
You did mention before that you really save your bigger meal for dinner time. How does that
Yes.
work when you have your later performances? I know some like when I go see ABT at the Met, I don't even get home sometimes until 11:30 at night. And that's kind of even.
Yeah.
So how do you handle the later performances with any post performance meals or recovery?
Yeah. So when we are in season and we have a lot of shows, my eating schedule sort of goes way off
Sure.
the normal eating schedule of people. And after a really long hard performance, I feel like I do need to eat, and I always do usually have like a pretty good dinner. So it ends up being like at 11 o'clock at night
Mm.
sometimes, if not later. But I feel like I need some kind of food. I need to replenish my body after a show because I just feel so drained and
Yeah.
tired, and just deprived of vitamins and electrolytes and all those
Mhm.
things. So I make sure to replenish myself and hydrate and eat like a good quality food. Usually, what happens is I end up eating a burger after a show. That's like my favorite thing to do.
Sure.
Um, it's like a reward for the performance, and I really look forward to it most of the time. Or we end up usually going to Mexican because there's a great Mexican place.
Even though it's late and it's could be 11 at night, even later, especially when you have such an intense season that you're going through, you're
Yeah.
probably waking up the next day and heading straight into a long day of rehearsals and then
Yep.
another performance. So I think it's really important to kind of make the connection that even though that meal after the show is not necessarily fueling a show, it's allowing for recovery and for your own body's fuel for the next day. Because
Yeah.
really what we eat is impacting our dancing ability for the whole week. It all it
Yes.
snowballs together.
Yes. And usually like during like when we have our spring season at the Metropolitan Opera House and we go for 8 weeks straight and we have
Yeah.
8 performances a week,
Hmm.
I'm because I'm burning so many calories during those weeks that my body is constantly hungry and I
Sure.
constantly feel like I need to eat something. But then when I'm not performing, it's completely different. It's a whole different routine.
It's going to be different. You know, you are burning
Hmm.
less when you're not in your performance season. And I
Yeah.
think it's important for dancers to realize that their bodies will naturally respond to that. So, for example, with COVID, one of the most common questions I get is, should I be eating less now that I am dancing less or not dancing as
Hmm.
intensely? And I
Right.
sometimes try and challenge my dancers, the ones that work with me, I challenge them by pretty much explaining, you know, if you are technically moving less, if you're not dancing as much, if you're not dancing as intensely, your body's probably not going to naturally feel as hungry as it would if you were
Right.
moving so intensely. It's not such a matter of trying to be exact and precise with the amount of calories
Hmm.
you're eating, how much you're eating. It's more
Yeah.
about kind of feeling that somewhat intuitively, that you just naturally might not be as hungry as you would be in more of an intense season.
It's true. Like I've noticed during the time right now, because obviously I'm not working as hard as we do in the studios and not as many hours. I am definitely not as hungry at the
Sure.
time being. I don't feel like I need to constantly be snacking all day long or, eat
Right.
like a lot of food or a big time meal.
Right.
So your body is sort of telling you what to do on its
Yeah.
own most of the time. You just have
Yeah.
to listen to
Exactly.
it.
Exactly. You know, that's a major part of what we call intuitive eating.
Hmm.
Not being so regimented in regards to a going by a specific food plan and a specific calorie goal, but instead actually trying
Hmm.
to connect with your body and listening to it, listening to some days when it might be hungrier, listening to other days where it really might not be as hungry. That's so
Yeah.
point. And now
Yeah.
just to finish off, Christine, I'd love for you to define what it means to you to be a healthy dancer. Just having been through the entire journey, the pre-professional, the now your professional career, what does it mean to you to be a healthy dancer?
Oh, it's so important to me because also like if you want to have a long career and dance for a
Mm-hmm.
long time, it's so important to be healthy because your body is your job in this career, and without your body, you can't do this job.
Mm-hmm.
So the main focus should be on making sure you are healthy and making sure you're strong and prevent injuries and just have really good recovery methods, to really, really take good care of yourself. And I'm all about that. That's like my biggest thing that I love to do because I do want to dance for a long time. I don't want to have a short career. I want to have a long career where I can dance as much as possible
Yeah.
because,
So
so it's super, super important to me to be healthy.
yeah, you know, as dancers, our body are our instrument, and that means what goes into it is going to directly impact how you perform on stage and in class. So that's such a good point. You know, your food choices are going to play such an important role in that.
Yeah.
It has been such a pleasure hearing from you. You
Oh, thank you.
so many good points today. Is there anything you want to finish off with, or it's up to you?
No, I would just say to those people that are having a hard time figuring out what to eat, I've sort of learned my body really well by now, and
Mhm.
I know a lot about it, and your body will tell you what it needs or wants. Like there's days where I crave a certain food or a certain fruit or a certain vegetable, and it's just really important to listen to your body and what your body is telling you. It's the best thing you can possibly do.
Absolutely. Yeah. Tuning into that intuition, because our body is really smart, and it
Hmm.
definitely will tell us if there's something missing in our diet and
Yeah,
if getting something else in. So that's a great point.
yeah.
Christine, again, it was such a pleasure speaking to you today.
Thank you.
Uh,
You too.
we will
Okay.
definitely be in touch, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you. Great talking to you too.
You're welcome. I'll speak to you soon.
Okay. Bye.